Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Powerbomb Project. My name is Berman, and my co-hosts are,
Chris.
And Daniel,
and we are reviewing, or actually retro reviewing, WrestleMania 31. One of my personal favorite WrestleManias. Because I just remember it pretty vividly. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of WrestleManias that are better than this one, but to me, it's just very fun pay-per-view myself, and a lot of fun with it. What do you think, guys, about this pay-per-view?
I actually didn't mind it. Like I said, I just have one problem, but outside it, actually two problems. But we'll get to it when we get to it. It's a fun pay per view. Wasn't anything crazy, but we'll go more in depth into it as we get later into the video.
while it may not be the very best WrestleMania of all time, I do believe it is a good WrestleMania, a very enjoyable show. So it's worthy of being a WrestleMania.
Yeah, it was very fun. I really had a lot of fun. So let's first go into the first match, which is a ladder match for the IC title. Wade Barrett, who is the champion, Dean Ambrose or John Moxley, versus Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson from AEW, versus Dolph Ziggler, Luke Harper, the late Brodie Lee, versus Stardust or Cody Rhodes, versus R-Truth. Now, this was a very interesting because there's so many there's two really wild cards that just weirdly didn't have to be in this match, but I loved it. It was very fun. A lot of great moments just happening when what's it called? Luke Harper flew over the top, or flew over the top rope and suicide dive. It shows how fun Luke Harper was in WWE, and showing the craziness that is Stardust, which is this weird character that Cody Rhodes played. It showed a weird side of Cody Rhodes that he's dedicated, but he hated that character at the same time. And it was very fun. And Wade Barrett with the delivering bull hammers to like three or four people, like just the elbow. That's his finisher. No one knows. Dean Ambrose just kind of being the lunatic. He didn't do it that much. I felt like he was kind of the outspoken character. Well, he was not doing that much. He was doing a lot. He was doing crazy things on like he got powerbombed through a ladder by Luke Harper, which is very funny. Dolph Ziggler doing. I think Dolph Ziggler and Daniel Bryan were two of the fun kind of characters in this whole thing because I think they're doing a lot in more interesting things. But I think I had a lot of fun with it, and in the end, Daniel Bryan won by just headbutting Dolph Ziggler off the ladder and getting that Intercontinental Championship, and that's good for him. So I definitely going to give this a 7.5 for me.
And again, I'll also give it a 7.5 just for the fact that my best moments. Well, I know I'm a diehard Cody fan, so it's just kind of funny seeing like just JBL and then the other guy commentating, just him like denying the Cody character because everyone's shouting Cody and he's just like, "Fuck you guys, I'm not Cody, I'm Stardust." And also to you, I've been saved bonds from like Dean Ambrose, but I knew Cody wasn't gonna win. But damn it, he was like my favorite part of this whole match. He was the guy that was taking the most crazy bumps, doing the most crazy shit as Stardust. So for what he was given, it was a pretty fun match. Good way to open WrestleMania. So 7.5.
So yeah, this ladder match, I feel like everybody kind of got at least a moment or two to shine. Like, you had Bryan and Dolph be the big baby faces of the match. Wade, who was the heel champion, nobody wanted to see retain. You got R-Truth for some comedic moments. Stardust, aka Cody Rhodes, which that's wild to even like look back on, if I'm being honest. Like, it's just wild that Stardust was like even a part of his career. Like, it just doesn't even feel real anymore when I go back to watch it. But hey, shit happens. So yeah, he got to shine. You also had Dean Ambrose, who did jumps off of ladders and stuff. Yeah, I do agree. He could have done a bit more in this match, but I do enjoy what we got out of him here. And yeah, Luke Harper, aka Brodie Lee. Once again, it sucks that he's dead because my God, this guy was so talented, and you could even see that in a match like this with 700 men or 600 men. And yeah, that pretty much is all I have to say. I think everyone brings a bit of flavor to this match, and I think it's a damn fun opener and a damn fun ladder match. Bryan winning the IC title here, I think, in my opinion, was a good call. I mean, sure, You can argue that he should have been in the main event because of the whole controversy at the time where fans thought he should have won the Rumble and not Roman. But aside from that, this was like a good little prize to get. Instead of the world title, he got the IC title, which honestly I see as second in command to the world title. So fair enough. I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, and let's move on to the next match, which is probably the second or the first best match of the night, whichever you prefer. Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins. Now, this was a heated rivalry, and I really loved this. This is probably my favorite rivalry of the summer, of that summer. I loved it. I had a lot of. I was so in depth. I was so encapsulated with this whole in authority Seth Rollins versus the Rebel Randy Orton. I had a lot of fun rooting for Randy, and it was a great match. A lot of crazy shit happened with the what's called the double DDT, hanging DDT on the J&J security, which is very funny because that they both now I think they work backstage, which is very funny. That and all these things, it's all the things that Seth Rollins is trying to get over, and it kind of shows how Seth Rollins was using his curb stomp this time. It does it a lot differently now than what he did back then. It showed a lot differently, but it had so much fun seeing it. But it just, but the thing that this was pretty much the WrestleMania moment too, where Randy Orton he was getting set up for another curb stomp, and out of nowhere you got a counter into a curb stomp to a RKO, it pretty much popped Seth Rollins into the air and hit her in the RKO, and it looked amazing. It had a great look. Everyone reacted to. That was probably a WrestleMania moment right there, and it just showed how good that was. So definitely, it's a 9.5 out of 10.
And yep, you couldn't have said it better, Berman. Blech. It was just overall excellent. It was one of the best matches of the night. Just quite frankly, even I think it was only like 10 minutes at length from what I remember. 10
Yeah, you want to know? You want to know what's crazy?
What's up?
The match is only 13 minutes.
Well, they fucking made sure to use every minute correctly because I saw no flaws. I'm gonna give it a 10. Berman said everything I gotta say. So yeah.
Yeah, the fact that they pulled this off in 13 minutes. Holy fucking shit. Yeah, you could say what you want about Randy Orton, but if you want to say that he can't wrestle, you're out of your fucking mind because matches like this prove you wrong. And a lot of people like to critique that, he doesn't do enough dives and he doesn't do enough this and enough that. Well, it's because he doesn't fucking need to. And you know what else I thought was really awesome about Randy Orton in this match? The fact that he came out to the same attire he wore when he beat, who, Chris Benoit for the World Heavyweight Championship, his first world title, the night he became the youngest world champ in history. He didn't wear that attire again for 11 years, and that was the first time he wore that attire again. I just thought that was another really awesome thing. And yeah, the RKO in this match that ends the match, yeah, probably the best RKO of all time. This match is near damn perfection. It's very close to it. I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah, great match. So let's move on to a history match or dream match, you probably think, between two companies. Triple H versus Sting. Now, this was a heated rivalry that started at the Survivor Series that year when Sting helped the John Cena's team win against the Authority, and that was a big starting point for this whole entire rivalry. And I loved this rivalry too. I think any rivalry that had the Authority in that year, I was so encapsulated because it was so much fun to see, and I just hated the Authority. Mainly, it's not like I hated I don't like them. It's just that I hated them because of how they were being that dirty and they're just being like a bad, like a evil bosses or evil people. And I think that's kind of shows great things about it. But this was a great match. The entrances were amazing. Sting coming out with like a Japanese drums, and it had a great sound to it. The song was great, Triple H coming out like the Terminator with like a, and it makes sense because they were sponsored by Terminator Genesis movie that time, so he was dressed up as a Terminator, holding Terminator heads in his hand. It was a great entrance from him, and in this whole thing, there was a great moments with old where it was showing each other where like Triple H was the whole thing was pretty much Triple H was underestimating Sting, think oh Sting can't wrestle whatsoever, and then Triple H was proved wrong for like half the match and getting shocked that Sting could actually wrestle at his age. What that's Triple H would say, but I think they did a great job too. And I think it for two of the kind of old timers in the business, they did a great job showing how good they can be in a good spotlight. And the big thing was that first DX came out trying to support Triple H, trying to see if they can screw because it was a no disqualifications match. So it was a big so anyone can get involved. So DX came involved, and then out of nowhere, NWO came out and started supporting Sting, and it just showed how these two showing that business because kind of showing that these two are brotherhoods that they know, so they are always trying to support each other. And but in the end, Triple H uh, finished Sting with the sledgehammer head, like a broken sledgehammer head, and just knocked him right in the head. 1, 2, 3. And everyone, the NWO people were disappointed because they thought Sting was going to win. I wanted Sting to win too myself, but this was still a fun match. I'll give this a 8 for myself. I really liked it too. I really like it.
And call me crazy, man, but I just didn't like this match quite a bit. This I know during the time back then when they're young, it was physically and literally impossible for these two to go at their prime. But this match was such a snore fest. And the only cool entrance was Sting because the Triple H Terminator entrance was cringe. It didn't look good. It looked stupid. And I'm just like, even he got roasted for it later on down. You know what? No, no, we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there. But point being, I'm not a big fan of this match. It was just way too slow. Like, yeah, there's cool throwbacks of DX and NWO, but I'm like, at the end of the day, it's like, does this match really need to happen? I'm like, bro, you didn't need to have this. This is like 26 minutes. I'm like, dude, it's too long. It's more of a snore fest. And call me crazy, but I'm not really nostalgic for these guys. It was okay. I'll be nice. I'll give it a 4.5 out of 10.
Jeez. All right. I mean, this is what I'll say. Sorry to make you feel like the black sheep here, Chris, but I'm agreeing with Berman on this particular take. I thought this was a damn fun match. And sure, they could have had a better match back in the 90s or the 2000s. But to be honest, I'm just kind of grateful the match even happened in the first place. And yeah, you can make the argument that they didn't live up to the hype. And you have the right to believe that. But considering the age, the circumstances, the involvement with the NWO DX, I just thought it was a lot of fun. A lot of undeniable fun. And I get why some people don't like this match, but I like it a lot. And yeah, overall, it is a 7.5 out of 10 in my book. It could have been better. And not to correct you again, Chris, but the match did not go 26 minutes. It went 18 minutes.
18 hours of nothing.
There you go. That's your answer, mate.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 7.5 out of 10. We'll move on to this next match.
Well, before we go into the match, because I forgot where it happened, but first thing happened. I think it was actually probably after this match, but I don't want to forget about it.
Oh, yeah.
The Rock came out. It actually was Triple. I think it was Triple H and Stephanie McMahon wanted to say thank you. I think to the
wait, Berman.
Yeah,
I remember the events exactly because I rewatched the event earlier this week. So after the match, Triple H and Sting they shook hands. It looked like it was kind of an out of character moment, and then the Rock promo doesn't happen until after John Cena's match. They come out later.
I could just we talk about that a little bit more to make sure that we don't forget about this whole thing too. So, after John Cena, we talked about more, but it was very interesting what Chris is about to talk about it too. But we talk about more after. So after we see, let's go back to the next match, which is a women's tag team match, which was, and this time it was not a women's title thing too. It was a divas, which everyone I think was pissed off that time. Then they fixed it to the women's now, and it was AJ Lee, the original diva, versus Paige or Saraya versus the Bella Twins, which is Nikki Bella and Brie Bella, and Nikki Bella was the Divas champion for a very long time, and she was pretty. She was had a record. She was a big record holder of that title. But this match was not the best match. A. It wasn't the best match, but it was fun to see kind of AJ Lee, Paige kind of work together against Brie and Bella Twins. But I think it was not the best match too. There were some fun things happening, but I was expecting a lot more when I think I was watching it myself. But in the end, AJ Lee just won by her finisher, the Black Widow, which is that submission that she does. And I think it was not that bad a match, but it was not the best match of the night or anything like that. It is just a 6 for now, but it was still fun to watch even now.
And yeah, I'm also on
Yeah.
the same page too because not only did Saraya and AJ Lee deliver, the Bella Teams were actually good in this match. Like as much as the crowd was like dead, I give them props at least for trying because it was thoroughly entertaining. Like you can't go wrong. The Bella Twins were dominating for most of the match. I would say like maybe like the last 10-ish minutes or so. I could be wrong about that, but I know it was like somewhere towards the end where finally Saraya and AJ Lee finally made a comeback and eventually took the titles. It was enjoyable. It wasn't anything crazy, but I liked it. So I'll give it a 7. I'll be fair. I thought it was
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
suck at first, if I'm being quite honest with you, because I don't understand the appeal of the divas thing. I always thought it was cringe as a kid back then too. I was like, who watches this
yeah.
shit?
Yeah, and it was not for the titles. I just wanted to make that sure. So the time period of the Divas and stuff. It was not even for a title. It was just a random tag match. It was just for like a rivalry tag match. But it was. I would just want to give context for people saying when was this happening between the Divas and Women's Championship or whatever like that happened.
Squatcho.
All right. Now, time to add my spin on this match. This was AJ Lee's last pay-per-view match of her entire career as well, to make matters even crazy, because she left WWE, I believe it was like 8 or 9 days later, some shit like that. It was wild. It was wild. But regardless, this match was decent. It was solid. And I want to mention one thing here about AJ Lee and Paige, or Saraya, whichever you may prefer to call her. I always look at these two as the two that kind of is the reason the women's revolution happened. And a lot of people like to point to the Four Horsewomen, or maybe WE, since they love to sometimes lie about their history, they'll credit the Bella Twins. But did the Bella Twins ever say give women a chance? No. They said give divas a chance. I see a difference there personally. AJ Lee was the one who did the big little pipe bomb in 2013 on all the divas and the whole Total Divas movement. And Paige was the first ever NXT Women's Champion. And she was portraying herself not as a diva, but as a wrestler. And you could say the same exact thing about AJ Lee. So if it wasn't for AJ Lee and Paige, there would be no Four Horsewomen. There would be no Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. None of the women that are on top right now wouldn't be getting as much TV time as they're getting, thanks to the changes AJ Lee and Paige made to WWE specifically. So, yeah, I just want to give them that credit here. And overall, I thought this was just fine. It was decent. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, it was fun. So let's go into the next match, which was a United States title match for the United States title, obviously. Rusev, or Miro, as in AEW, versus John Cena. Now, this was a heated rivalry because it was pretty much Rusev, who was a Russian, used to be, who is more in Russian, who was like a participant, sorry, was in Russia talking about talking about bad crap about the United States, saying that the United States is like dog crap and dog shit, whatever, and saying that Russia is the best, Russians are the best people, and it was kind of heated between those two always. John Cena kind of being this kind of like a mean streak having between because it's showing that John Cena is patriotic and everything makes sense and had some fun with it. The match wasn't that bad. I think it was not the worst, but it was not that bad at the same time. It was some fun things happening. Rusev kind of dominated for a good amount of the match too, but it was some fun things. You see John Cena pull out things that you haven't seen him do for a long time or have never seen him before ever do, like the springboard stunner, which we don't see him after do that after like a few months after that.
Oh
So
wait,
it was
Berman.
Yeah.
I actually remember this. It actually was the first time he ever hit that move.
I'm just saying that was actually the first time, but after that he hasn't. He didn't use that finisher. They used that move for a good while after that.
Yeah, he only really used it during his U.S. title reigns.
Yeah, so that was the first time I know that, and I know there's other things that he did that you just brought back like the leg drop from the top rope, I think, and there was a lot of moves that was very fun to see. But at the end, John Cena did win by I don't know. It was weird by interference by Lana, who was like throwing her shoes in the ring, which made no sense. It was weird. It was weird why she just threw her shoe in the ring and didn't do anything about it. It didn't do anything. To me, it felt like weird. But it showed that after that, John Cena just hit the AA and won the United States title, and went on for a good while as the United States title, doing some really great matches, United States matches against Kevin Owens, against Sami Zayn, against Neville, and against a few other people too. So it was very a good United States title win. I had a lot of fun. Always open challenges were very fun to watch. So it was. I would give this a 5. It was not the best, but it was fun to watch.
And that's a fair take because honestly, this match itself was nothing but goofiness, and it kind of caught me off guard of seeing Miro become like a Russian. And I think what really made me laugh the hardest is just out of nowhere he just gets like the Russian flag and just starts fucking waving it. And he's like, "Yeah, comrades, we killed John Cena." Like if you can look past this obviously was just some bullshit that Vince came up with because he probably didn't have anything else for Miro to do. So I'll just keep it simple. It was fun. It was ridiculous. I'll just give it a 5. The entrance was Miro went kind of hard though with the tanks. That shit was awesome. But that's all I can
The
really
tank,
give it.
the tank entrance, as sad as this sounds, was the best part of this entire thing
Hell
between
yeah.
Rusev and Cena. It was pretty badass. But the fact that you have the man arrive on a tank just to lose, how fucking dare you guys even book that?
Are you a Russian
But
spy, Daniel?
no clue, man. But I would just say that I'm not revealing that shit. And second of all, I think the match was average. My least favorite match of the night, not that mean it was bad, I mean it was just average, of course. And yeah, the springboard stunner being hit for the first time was unique. And yeah, as Berman said, it led to one of the best U.S. title reigns of all time, or pair of two title reigns, I guess you could say. KO, Sammy, Neville, Cesaro, especially there's this one match that happened on Raw with Cena and Cesaro. I'd go as far as to say is one of the best matches of both men's careers. So if you haven't seen that, please do. And yeah, there's just many standouts from that title reign. So I agree. No, like this match was average, but knowing what it led to is pretty sick. So I'm going to give it a 5.5 out of 10.
Yeah, it was reserved too. So let's move on to what happened between those two matches, and because Danny talked about it before, I'll let Danny talk about this event that happened between these two matches.
I see. Okay. So, Undertaker. Oh, wait, The Rock, actually, The Rock. So, Triple H and Steph, they come out and they basically kind of brag about how they beat Sting earlier, and they are the authority. Kind of a cliche segment, you would think. But then The Rock came out, made a few insults at Triple H and Stephanie. One particular insult towards Triple H is how he left his balls in the state of Connecticut. And then basically the segment met its end when The Rock involved Ronda Rousey. And Ronda Rousey got in the ring and she did a move. Well, she didn't do a move, but she basically almost broke Stephanie's arm. And yeah, the Rock also brawled with Triple H for a bit. So that was basically the segment. It was a fun segment for what it was worth. My main critique, though, is that I think 30 minutes for this segment was definitely too much time. I think if this was done in like a matter of 10 to 15 minutes, that would have been perfect. But I'm not going to complain too much. It was fun. That's all I'll leave that.
Yeah. I just wanted to talk about it so no one else says, oh, you forgot something. So let's move on to the next match, which was a interesting return, a kind of return match. It was Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt, pretty much who will be the face of Fear. And at this time, Undertaker was the face of Fear, but Bray Wyatt wanted to be the next face of Fear. And this was right after WrestleMania 30 when Brock Lesnar defeated Undertaker and finished off his record-breaking streak at WrestleMania. So this was everyone's thinking, well, is Undertaker going to be alright? Is Undertaker going to be the same person? Well, at this time, he showed that he was pretty much the same person. He was getting Undertaker was getting squashing Bray Wyatt for half the match, and then the other half of the match, Bray Wyatt, it was an exchange between Bray Wyatt, Undertaker, going back and forth, back and forth. Bray Wyatt kicking out of the tombstone, which that's probably a good respect thing that it's saying because no, not a lot of people kicked out of a tombstone before. And then Undertaker kicked out of his sister Abigail. Then this whole thing where it was a good thing I like when Bray Wyatt was going to go for his spider walk. When I love really creepy walk he does, and Undertaker sat up and made Bray Wyatt just so scared and just back up like and terrified. And it kind of showed that Bray Wyatt was not ready to be a face of fear because he was already feeling fear himself, I would say. So it was very fun to see, and this kind of started Undertaker kind of coming back, not the best out of anyone, but this is kind of after, this is heading up going to fight against like Roman or fight against other people in the future that I can't remember most of them, but that's kind of how it started this whole thing. But it was very fun. This actually I had a lot of fun. I love Undertaker. I love Bray Wyatt. So two of my favorites. So I'm gonna give this a 6.5 myself.
And yep, same here. Because honestly, I think it was good character growth for Bray Wyatt. Because I don't know how. I'm assuming he was pretty up there, but like you said, he wasn't ready to take on the new fear thing of the crown or whatever you call it. But you can argue that yes, it was slow. But I would say like going past that, just my favorite part of the match was just them going at it, just brawling each other. But I think what kind of makes the match like not too good was like when things were finally getting good. You know, when Bray Wyatt kicked out of the tombstone and then, the Undertaker kicked out of the Abigail, it just like abruptly ends. And I get it for time's sake, but if they would have just cut like off just a few more moments of the Rock's like whole speech or whatever, they probably could have added more time to the match. So I enjoyed it thoroughly. It was cool. I'll give it a 6.5.
Yeah. Another match right here. And it went 15 minutes. All I can say is that I thought it was decent for what it was worth. Here was the problem though. So a lot of people are not happy about Bray Wyatt losing here, believe it or not, actually. And here's why. Bray Wyatt debuted in SummerSlam 2013 in the Inferno match against Kane, which he won. He then had some feuds and won all of them. And then he got into a feud with Daniel Bryan, which he won. His whole Wyatt family beat the Shield. So they built him all the way up for what? Just for him to lose to John Cena at WrestleMania 30. Oh, and then he wins at Extreme Rules 2014, but then he loses again at Payback 2014. Then he has to rebuild because he kind of got deflated a bit by John Cena. So he beats Jericho in the feud. He beats Dean Ambrose in the feud. And then then he beat Ryback in a feud, I believe. And then basically that led to this. So it felt like if Bray Wyatt could be Undertaker, then he could finally convincingly be a main event player without constantly being built up, dragged down, built up, dragged down. But unfortunately, this was just another John Cena thing because after he lost here, he had to rebuild himself. And then when he did rebuild himself, that was just to lose again to Roman Reigns. So you have a guy that you're constantly building up, and then you're just having him lose over and over again to the older guys. So I understood the frustration from people there when it came to Bray Wyatt. But with that said, this is Undertaker at WrestleMania. He shouldn't really lose at all. If it was up to me, he wouldn't have lost to Brock at Mania 30, and he wouldn't have lost to Roman Reigns at Mania 33. He would have never lost that streak if it was up to me. But that's just me. Overall, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10.
I do agree with that too. I wish Undertaker has just had a big, gigantic streak and just never lost at WrestleMania because that shows how good Undertaker it is. Not to got destroyed by Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns and other people in that. So I agree with that. So let's move on to the last match and the second best match or the first best match. So whatever you think about it. In the main event, it is Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. This is the second best match they ever had together too. And this was an interesting too because of how is like today Roman Reigns is the beast and Brock Lesnar is the dog, I would call it. So it's kind of funny now. It's Brock Lesnar is the beast and Roman Reigns is the dog now. So it's kind of funny. So in the beginning of the match, Brock Lesnar was just taking Roman Reigns to Suplex City, kept on suplexing him for I don't remember how many times. I think he said a very big amount of times. I think 10, maybe 8 or 10. I can't remember, but it was a lot of suplexes, fishermen's. It looked like this is the best Brock Lesnar you've ever seen. I would say too. And it was not that bad a match too. It had a lot of great things, but like half the match, it was all squashed by Brock Lesnar. Then Roman Reigns, small glimpses of him coming back, and then he came back, starting to do things that can weaken Brock Lesnar, doing his Superman punches, like 3 Superman punches, and then doing a spear, kicking Brock Lesnar kicking out, and then Roman Reigns kicked out of 3, 3 F5s as different times too. So it was really interesting to see these two. And then then the biggest thing happened, which is probably the second WrestleMania moment, or probably number one at WrestleMania of the whole time, when Brock Lesnar hit the F5. Had the F5, or I think it was Brock Lesnar hit the F5, or it was Roman hit a spear.
No, it was F5. It was
F5, or I can't remember. You hear Seth Rollins' music pop, and everyone's screaming, and Seth Rollins came with his Money in Bank briefcase, cashed in, and made it a triple threat match. And it was a interesting start. First, he kicked Roman Reigns out. Then he was going to hit Brock Lesnar with a curb stomp. Brock Lesnar caught him into the F5, but then Roman Reigns speared Brock Lesnar. So Brock Lesnar was completely out. Now Seth Rollins hit a curb stomp on Roman Reigns. 1, 2, 3. Seth Rollins is the new WWE champion, and just walks out the greatest heist of the century. Everyone calls it is the greatest heist of the century. Took that title away from him and started a great WWE Championship title reign for Seth Rollins too, and had a lot of great matches. So it was a great WrestleMania moment, and I had a great match leading up to that moment too. It's definitely a 9.5 out of 10.
Uh, yeah, if anything, this again was another WrestleMania match. It's like this pay per view is good. It's like sure there's little stinkers, but surprisingly, it was kind of funny seeing Roman Reigns just getting his ass whooped for throughout the match or what have you. But like you said, the last 10 minutes when Seth just cashes in, it's just absolute genius. Like I'll give Vince props. I don't know if he wrote this match or not, but that was some smart
No,
ass.
yeah, this was
It was cool.
basically Vince was everything WWE until last year.
Yeah, so he did good this match. So it's very good, excellent, best way to kick off 9.5.
So I explained this to Chris. Roman Reigns was a babyface at the time, but people didn't want him. And it was because they wanted Daniel Bryan instead. You heard it even in his entrance. All the weeks on Raw, at the pay-per-views, then at Mania 31. An entire stadium was booing Roman Reigns, the guy who is supposed to be the next John Cena. We all know how that turned out. So, Brock Lesnar, even though he's a bad guy, he's getting cheered because he beat the streak. He killed Super Cena. He ended up dominating all his championship matches and even won them clean. So he was proven he was a dominant champion, despite being part-time. He was the one getting cheered by the stadium. And in this match, you just had Brock beating the ever-living shit out of Roman. And honestly, seeing Roman just kind of smile and laugh it off, even with like his mouth bleeding, it's like, all right, this is sick. This is a match. And then you have Roman making Brock bleed, and just this match is genuinely especially for the fact that this is the first match they've had together. This is one of the best matches they've ever had together. The only match I think that really comes toe to toe with this match is the Last Man Standing match at SummerSlam last year. That's really the only one I could think of. This is just fantastic. And even though I was angry about it at the time, because believe it or not, I was obviously in a not popular crowd because I was rooting for Roman Reigns here. And when Seth cashed in, it was a genuine plot twist that not many thought of, including myself. The first time anyone ever cashed in at a WrestleMania main event, might I add. And it was the first time a one-on-one match became a triple threat match with a cash-in. And seeing Roman take the pin was the wise decision because Roman took like literally 5 finishers. And Brock, he still looked strong because, he lost the belt, but he never got pinned to lose the belt. So that's how he made him look strong. And you had Randy Orton beat Seth Rollins earlier. So Seth was instantly set up for a rivalry to continue with Randy Orton, but now for the title. So everyone kind of looked good in this scenario. And Seth Rollins even got a WrestleMania main event from it. Competed twice in one night, technically. Pretty cool shit. So without a doubt, 9.5 out of 10 match. Great, if not an amazing main event for WrestleMania.
Yeah, so for my personal rating, I'm going to give it an 8. It was a personal favorite of my WrestleManias. I loved it. I had a lot of fun with watching it too. Only one match that maybe it was iffy, but I still loved it. So I'm going to give it an 8 for me.
And then I'll give it a 7. I just had 2 major problems just with one of the matches being the Triple H versus thing and just the promo about it going for a bit too long. So I enjoyed it. No other complaints. I thought it was a pretty good pay-per-view.
I'll give it a 7.5, right in between the two scores here. Pretty good show. And overall, a good Mania.
So everybody, thank you guys for watching. My name has been Berman.
I've been Chris.
And I've been Daniel.
And thank you for watching. Subscribe and like. We'll come back when Daniel will put his 2 suggestions for retro review himself. And thank you guys for watching. And peace out, guys.
Peace.